The men's basketball team plays a pair of home games this week, hosting Indiana tomorrow night at 6 p.m. on ESPN, and then Northwestern on Saturday at 4:30 p.m. on BTN. Head coach Bo Ryan is here, and we'll take questions.
What time we play on Saturday? I thought it was noon.
I think it's 4:30.
Bo, you've had some point guards, obviously, who have been very good at not turning the ball over, and Bronson, especially since he's been in the starting lineup, I think 2 turnovers in 4 games, whatever it is. What are some of the key essentials? How important is it, just decision-making, to begin with, not to attempt a risky pass or not to do something to force something?
Well, you need to be aggressive to be a point guard, but through repetition, you learn what's open, what isn't open, and you have to care. You know, I know it sounds pretty simple, but if you care and you realize how important possessions are, because every day you got some old guy on the sideline telling you, and that if you don't get certain points per possession, little extra conditioning and things like that, it tends to, with intelligent people, they pick that up. So, again, it isn't what you say, it's what you emphasize. And they become pretty good at recognizing what's a good pass and what isn't. But I don't, if they're off just a little bit on a lead pass to somebody going to the basket, things like that, that's not what I get concerned about is when people jump up in the air and try to make decisions and they're not sure. I mean, our guys don't do that very often because I was never allowed to do that, even though I wanted to. Because on the playground, I'd go out there and jump up in the air, spin around, throw behind your back, make some kind of crazy play. But in high school, when the first time I went behind my back and I had a guy tell me that it better get there, you better not lose the ball, it tends to resonate. So, but I have been fortunate to have some guys that, our point guards, period. Over the years, I'd take any of them. Here, Platteville, high school, when I coached, UWM. Reason I take any of them is because I can't trade them now. I can't.
Have you seen any changes in Bronson since he became the starter versus the way he attacked things coming off the bench? I know it shouldn't change someone, but I think sometimes it does.
Well, I think this whole year, he got a student of the semester award or of the month. He's really come a long way in the classroom. Not that he was bad, but he's just so much more focused and dedicated to everything. He's worked at his game in the off season, put in the time. He's maturing in front of our eyes, which is what you hope all of them do.
Do you like what you're getting from Showalter off of the bench, and what would you like to see him improve on going ahead?
Well, he understands his role. He knows when we put guys on the floor to add. So if you can do it with a rebound, if you can do it with taking a charge, if you can do it with making a play offensively, setting a teammate up, and when you're open, knock down the shot. So we don't make it real complicated. We're just looking for addition, not subtraction. And he's just working on his all-around game. He's put in a lot of time also. He's an energy guy. He's got a nose for the ball. His teammates love being around him. So those kind of guys that come in off the bench and can energize like that, that's always good.
What's made Yogi Ferrell such a hard matchup for you guys the past couple years?
Well, he's a hard matchup for a lot of people. He's quick. He can shoot it. And, when you have those qualities, you tend to be pretty good. So, you know, he has an average. And sometimes it's one of those things in basketball. Maybe there are some games where a guy's encouraged to shoot a little more, or to play off a ball screen a little more, or to do this or do that. So, you know, what we still attack a game with the idea how at the end of the 40 minutes we can be the most effective. But we've had times where guys like Trey Burke scored a lot more points than their average, but they dominated the ball. Other players were eliminated, and we come out on the left-hand side. So we never were, if it's somebody that's being left wide open, obviously we're concerned. But he can create for himself. He's so fast, he can get a shot on anybody at any time.
When you throw James Blackman Jr. into the mix on that, does that make it a little bit tougher of a guard matchup going into this one?
Sure it is. Yeah, both those guys are obviously very good. And they involve other people as well as the scores, the average that they have for their own personal statistics. You still have to see what they're doing and take a hard look at what they're doing for their teammates. So they've done quite a bit.
Trey's kind of been the guy at the ends of close games where, you know, he's been the guy that's taken the shots for you guys over the last couple of years. You know, Josh had a huge bucket the other day. Nigel had the putback against Iowa. Is it refreshing to see other guys step up in those big roles in Trey's absence, you know, in the event that that comes up later on when Trey's around, that way you have more than one option in those situations?
Oh, believe me, we've always had other options. It just so happens that Trey ended up with the shots at those times. You know, we'll do drills in practice where we'll put 5 seconds on the clock, and, you know, it's not always one person that's getting that last opportunity. We've had other guys do it. We've had other guys ready to do it. Now, whether it happens, you have to wait and see. But we got some gamers.
Just in general, what have you seen from Indiana this year? I know they had maybe some question marks coming into the year with some new guys playing.
No, they just have talent. Very high-ranked players out of high school. You know, a guy like Blackman, he's a pro. So when you have those kind of players, when you're playing against them, you got to figure out some kind of way how to contain them. So if I wasn't here doing this, I'd still be looking at film trying to find ways. But it's like the Super Bowl interview. I got to be here. I could be looking at Indiana against Nebraska, except I already looked at it twice. Those guys are good.
I believe it was last week, Jay Billis called college basketball unwatchable at this point. You've been around basketball for a while. What would be your sentiment to his comment there?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to be put in the sit-down situation where I'd see what he was talking about. If that's the only statement he made with nothing before it or nothing after it, how would I know?
He was talking about the whistles and the college basketball moving slow, and do you see that as well?
No, our game's pretty good. We're still paying the NCAA's budget, so I think it's still a pretty good game. The TV contracts and the gates and everything else for men's basketball, people can say whatever they want. He played it. I don't know what people used to say about him. Was he slow? Was he this? Was he that? I don't know. But he's on air. He's got to say something. That's why I would never be an announcer. I'd have to make up stuff while I'm watching a game. What's that? Well, because it's a comfortable setting. The background.
I mean, that was a pretty good win on Saturday over a pretty good team. After the game, though, you asked Nigel about that dunk, and he goes, "Well, I'll tell you what I think about my bad defense and my poor rebounding." And then Josh Gosser saying, he's the consummate. We're getting better, but we're not there yet. Where does that never satisfied personality come from players on this team? Because it'd be pretty easy to be high on the horse if you're 18-2.
Well, because we don't get too high and we don't get too low as a staff. You have players who come back from the year before, other players graduate, the other guys come back and visit, they talk amongst themselves. Competition is an ongoing thing. There's if what you did yesterday looks good today, that whole thing, take pride in your work, but your work's never done, and your fun is never done. These guys got to have some fun playing this game. The hours they put in, the demands, the hours when we play, the travel, it's been made easier by the charter flights and things like that. But I told you this before. There's a poster that we have from 2004, and it has Wednesday, 7 o'clock, Indiana. Saturday, noon or 4, Michigan State. Wednesday. And you look at the schedule, and it's not even close anymore because of the desire for people to see our games on television and the rights that were paid for our games. And so the players, there's no routine. You don't play Friday, Saturday. You don't play Saturday. So, these guys have to enjoy what they're doing. That's all part of it. And, it's a game. They're wearing T-shirts and sneakers, and they're playing. So when you say about high and low, this is an answer to your question. They understand that we can always get better. I mean, pretty much there are people on their jobs when they're 40s. In their 40s, a lot of these guys. I hope they're saying, okay, how can we I'm enjoying this, but how can we make this better? How can we make our product better? How can if he's a teacher or if he's talking about my guys that are, how can I get better at what I'm doing? I hope they continue that for a long time, but also take some time to appreciate what they do have.
Andy?
Bo, do you coach it? Do you vote in the coaches poll?
No.
Is that just a preference of yours that you just don't want to do it? You weren't asked to do it? What is your view on that whole process?
I'm trying to think if I was on the regional one that they did with the for the selection committee. They had regional ones, so I served my term. I think it was like a 3-year term on that. I don't know. Maybe because I'm on the executive board of the coaches that they do. I don't know. I've never volunteered to be on it. I don't think you can, but I think they have a pretty good cross-section. Why do you ask? Is there a...
Just some curiosities to the latest poll.
I haven't... Did it come out already?
Yeah.
And...
Well, I don't... You look at it, don't you?
Well, I get told about it. Why, did we get kicked to the curb, or
No,
did we...
no, you didn't get kicked to the curb, but there's just a curious development at the top of it, in that both Virginia and Wisconsin are ranked ahead of Duke.
Well, I thought Duke's win was pretty. I thought Tony had that in the bag. I was ready to go to another game on TV. I know people have done that with us too. I thought they were playing well. And does Duke have some talent? And when they finally figured a couple things out, they were pretty good. Would I say that us and Duke Virginia and Duke played on a neutral court, Duke could be the better team, yes. So they had Duke ahead of us in Virginia, is what you're saying. Huh. And Duke went in and beat us both. Yeah. Bad days. Okay, who has Duke lost to? I don't even know. They've lost to Miami, Notre Dame, pretty good. Miami's pretty good. But that's what makes this so. I don't know. You work with hockey. Who votes in hockey? Do coaches? So there's no coaches poll in hockey. Is there one in football? Yes. So okay. Boy, Duke's pretty good. I'll say that again, especially when they came in here. You know, we've gone to some places and played well, and people thought, and then see us play later and go, like we all have with other teams. Is that the same team that I just saw last week? Or Kentucky's still number one? Which team? The blue or the white team for Kentucky? Could you imagine that one time in the poll come out, Kentucky, parentheses, blue, Kentucky, parentheses, white. It's white and blue, right? There are two teams. People would have some fun with that. Yeah. They are pretty talented. So Kentucky's one. Virginia's still number 2? 3. Who's 2? Gonzaga, yeah. I say Gonzaga, you say Gonzaga. I just say good. No, he does. They do have a nice team. This might be Mark's best team with the size and the shooters and pedigree that they have.
You sure you don't want to be a broadcaster? That was a lot of time right there that you just filled. That was pretty quality, just so you know.
Well, I don't get many questions from Andy. I was wondering where he was going with it. But polls, they serve their purpose. People will talk. There'll be a lot of conversation. Gives me something for the radio show tonight.
Anything else for Coach? All right.
All
Thanks,
right,
Coach.
thanks.